The wind screamed over the icy ridges of the abandoned colony world, a dead place forgotten by both stars and empires. Snow whipped like razors, biting through the thin remnants of cloth wrapped around her shoulders. Her trembling arms curled protectively around the tiny bundle against her chest. The baby, her daughter, barely whimpered anymore. Even the cries had frozen. Her name was Solari. Once she was proud. Once she had been part of a noble house in the Naraxi Union. Now that house was gone. Bombed from orbit when the invaders came. Or fled, she wasn't sure. All she knew was the crash landing that left her and a handful of survivors on this forsaken moon. Then the predators came. Then the snow. Then death. And now silence. Solari leaned against the wreck of the escape pod, her body already starting to go numb. She pressed her daughter tighter, feeling nothing but cold. Her breath came in slow gasps. Her eyelids sank. "I'm sorry," she whispered, barely audible over the wind. "I tried." Then there was light. It was dim at first, like a false dawn. A flicker through the storm. Then a silhouette. Tall. Broad. The sound of crunching boots approached, slow and deliberate. A figure emerged, wrapped in thick tactical armor, snow gathering on the shoulder plates. A strange emblem glinted on his chest plate, an eagle with spread wings. Human. She tensed instinctively. The Union had told stories of them. Violent. Primitive. Dangerous. And yet, as her vision blurred, she couldn't run. Couldn't move. He knelt before her slowly, pulling back his hood. His face was hard, chiseled with age and exhaustion, skin pale from the cold. But his eyes were not cruel. "Easy," he said. His voice was rough, but gentle. "I've got you." She tried to speak, but only coughed. He opened his pack and pulled out a thermal cloak. Without hesitation, he wrapped it around her and the child. She felt warmth return, creeping slowly through her limbs. She blinked, confused. "Hold her tight," he said, and reached beneath her to lift them both. Her instincts screamed to resist, but she was too weak. The baby stirred, let out a small cry, and the man smiled faintly. "Still breathing," he muttered. "Good." He turned and started walking, shielding them from the wind with his back. The storm howled louder, but within his arms, the cold felt distant. Solari closed her eyes, expecting darkness. But instead, she felt warmth, and the rhythmic thump of a human heartbeat. He didn't speak again for a long while. The blizzard fought them with fury, battering the man's armored form as he trudged through knee-high snowdrifts. Solari drifted in and out of consciousness, her grip on her daughter loosening now and then. Each time, the man would adjust his hold, murmuring reassurance. They passed the shattered wreckage of a cargo hauler, then a ridge marked by burned-out trees, their trunks blackened and skeletal. It felt like a ghost's march through a battlefield, except her ghost had a heartbeat and boots that crushed snow with purpose. Finally, a glow appeared through the white. Not firelight. Steady. Electric. Artificial. The man pressed a button on his wrist device. A hidden panel opened in the rock ahead, revealing a narrow entrance. Heat rushed out, and Solari gasped as her skin suddenly tingled with sensation again. She clutched her daughter tighter. Inside, the air was warm. The door sealed behind them with a hiss, shutting the storm out. Lights flickered on, revealing a small but efficient shelter carved into the stone, human-made, with racks of supplies, medical kits, and an old earth flag pinned to the wall. He laid her gently on a padded cot. For a moment, he just watched her. Then he spoke. "I'm Captain Elias Ward. Recon. TerraCorp Fleet." Solari coughed weakly. Her throat burned. "Why help me?" Ward shrugged. "It's what we do." He moved to the wall and retrieved a protein pack and canister of warm liquid. He knelt beside her, helping her sip. She stared at him as the heat reached her core. We were enemies. You were civilians." He paused. "And this war's been over 5 years." Her eyes widened. "You didn't know, did you?" Ward asked quietly. "The Union fell. The last broadcast stopped 3 years ago. No one came looking for you because there's no one left to send." She couldn't speak. Her world, already frozen, shattered into silence. Ward turned to check her daughter. The child's tiny hand reached out and grabbed his gloved finger. He didn't flinch. He smiled. "She's strong," he said. "Like her mother." Solari's vision blurred again, but this time it was from tears. Later, Ward sat at a console across the room, sending encrypted signals. Solari stirred. You're calling reinforcements? Evac ship, he replied. You're not dying on this rock. A long silence passed. Then she asked, why are you really here? He didn't answer immediately. Looking for someone, he said at last. Or something. Doesn't matter anymore. He looked at her. I found something else instead. She didn't ask again. Outside, the storm howled. But inside, 3 hearts beat warm against the cold. Solari awoke to the low hum of machinery and the soft hiss of air vents cycling warmth through the hidden shelter. For the first time in days, perhaps weeks, she didn't feel the bite of frost in her bones. Her daughter slept peacefully beside her, cheeks no longer pale blue but flushed with fragile life. The baby's tiny breath fogged the air in faint puffs, and Solari watched them with a growing, aching hope she didn't yet trust. She looked across the room. Captain Ward sat at the console, helmet off, his rugged face illuminated by the dim blue light of the screens. His eyes scanned old maps, grainy satellite feeds, and transmission logs that scrolled with timestamps years out of date. He wasn't speaking, just reading, waiting. She sat up slowly. Her body protested, but it obeyed. You didn't sleep, she said. Ward glanced over his shoulder. Didn't need to. You're lying. He offered a tired smile. Habit. Solari glanced at the child. She's better. She's alive, he said. That's all that matters. Silence stretched between them like another kind of snowfall. Heavy. Fragile. What happened to the rest? She finally asked. My people. Ward leaned back in his chair. Scattered. Some fought. Some surrendered. Some ran. But the Union broke. When Earth countered, they didn't hold back. You killed everyone? He looked her in the eye. We responded. Hard. Because the Union targeted colonies full of civilians. Children. Families. His voice turned cold for the first time. After that, mercy was in short supply. Solari flinched, not from fear, but from guilt. I didn't know, she whispered. They told us Earth was the aggressor. Funny, he said. They told us the same about you. She let out a bitter breath. Lies built the stars we fought for. Ward stood and walked to a side panel. With a hiss, a second chamber opened. This one holding armor, weapons, and old datapads. He retrieved one and held it out to her. Here, he said. The truth, as best as anyone still has it. Solari took the pad with trembling fingers. Her eyes scanned the contents. Video feeds, testimonies, decoded transmissions. Images of bombed Earth colonies. Children buried in rubble. Soldiers dragging wounded civilians to safety. And yes, Union warships raining fire on orbiting stations. Tears blurred her vision. I believed in a cause that never existed, she said softly. Ward didn't answer. He didn't need to. I should be dead, she murmured. Maybe, he said. But you're not. So what are you going to do with that? She didn't know. The sound of static snapped through the room. Ward turned to the console. A blinking signal had lit up on the display. Solari stood. Is it your evac? Ward frowned. No. It's local. Weak. He adjusted the controls, trying to hone in on the signal. A garbled voice emerged through the static. Repeat, survivor. Zone Delta, for request assistance. Solari stiffened. That's not far from here. Ward turned to her. More of your people? I don't know. Maybe. He hesitated, then looked at the child. You and the baby stay here. It's warm, safe. If it's a trap, I'm going with you. You can barely stand. I have to try. He studied her face. The fear was still there. But behind it, steel. Ward nodded once. Then suit up. She followed him to the storage lockers, where he handed her a lightweight thermal armor piece. It wasn't built for battle, but for survival. That was enough. Minutes later, they stepped into the blizzard again. But now, they walked together. Two enemies, no longer at war. And behind them, a child who might never know one. Part for coming next. They moved like ghosts through the white, their footsteps swallowed instantly by the storm. Solari's legs still ached, but each step grew steadier. Ward stayed close, his weapon slung across his back and his eyes scanning every ridge, every drift, every shadow. The signal came again, clearer now. Injured, 4 survivors, food gone. Solari's heart pounded. She recognized the voice, Captain Rilek, a security officer from the escape vessel. Not a kind man, but not cruel either. If he was alive, others might be too. Ward stopped suddenly and raised a fist. Solari followed his gaze. Up ahead, Tucked between two ice-covered boulders, a heat signature glowed faintly. The ruins of a crashed atmospheric skimmer. Smoke curled from the wreck. A makeshift shelter had been built into its side, but it was failing, its power core flashing warning reds. Ward signaled her to stay low. They approached from the flank. He moved with practiced silence. She followed, nerves tingling. Then a voice cried out, "Stop! Identify!" Ward raised his hand slowly. "Human. Friendly. Responding to your distress signal." A figure emerged from the shelter, gaunt, rifle in hand. Solari stepped forward, pulling off her helmet. "Captain Rilek." His eyes widened. "Lady Solari, you're alive?" She nodded. Thanks to him. Rilek glanced at Ward, wary, but lowered his weapon. Behind him, 3 others lay huddled near the failing core. 2 adults and a teen, all frostbitten and hollow-eyed. "We thought we were the only ones left," Rilek muttered. "We buried 7. The rest wandered off or froze." "You won't freeze today," Ward said. "Come on. I've got shelter, food, heat." Rilek hesitated. "You're with the humans." "I am a human," Ward said flatly. "You want to argue, or you want to survive?" One of the injured moaned. That settled it. They moved quickly. Rilek helped carry one survivor while Ward lifted another. Solari stayed beside the youngest, a girl with pale blue skin and vacant eyes. Hours passed before they returned. Ward's hidden shelter felt like a paradise now. Warmth, clean water, full rations. Solari watched as Rilek stared at the old Earth flag pinned to the wall. "You really were here this whole time?" Ward nodded. "Was supposed to map this moon for a supply relay. Got stuck when the fleet pulled back. Decided to hold position. Guess I was waiting for someone." "You found us," Solari said quietly. "No," Ward replied. He looked at her. "You found me." Later, as the new survivors rested and the child lay swaddled in warmth between emergency blankets, Solari approached Ward, who stood alone by the sealed door. "You didn't have to come for them," she said. "Yeah, I did." She hesitated, then stepped closer. "You said you were looking for someone." "Who?" He exhaled, watching his breath fog the air. "My brother," he said finally. "Crashed here during the last orbital battle. I picked up his emergency ping years ago. Thought he might still be alive." Solari swallowed. "And is he?" Ward shook his head. "Found the wreck. Nothing left but tags and frozen bones." "I'm sorry." He gave a tight nod. "Was ready to leave after that. But then I saw the flare from your pod." Solari's voice was barely a whisper. "If you hadn't." "But I did," Ward said, turning to face her. "Because in this galaxy full of dead empires and burned banners, one life still matters. Even if it's not the one you came for." She looked at him, and for the first time in years, felt safe. Outside, the storm began to ease. For the first time in weeks, stars pierced the veil of gray. Inside, survivors slept peacefully, and a human and an Araxi noble stood side by side, not as enemies, but as something new. Here is Part 5, the final part of your HFY story. Part 5. 3 days passed. The storm lifted at last, revealing a pale sky and jagged mountains far beyond the horizon. The dead moon no longer seemed as lifeless. Paths once hidden beneath snow emerged, and the wind softened from a scream to a whisper. Ward stood atop the ridge, his rifle slung over one shoulder, a pair of signal beacons in hand. Solari stood beside him, the baby bundled against her chest. The infant's cheeks had color now, and her eyes no longer stayed shut from exhaustion. She cooed softly, grabbing at the straps on Solari's coat. "They'll come," Solari asked, scanning the skies. Ward nodded. "The evac signal's strong. Shouldn't be more than a day." Behind them, the shelter bustled. Rilek and the other survivors had cleaned the place up, reinforced the walls, and organized supplies. Life flickered where only death had waited. Solari watched Ward carefully. "When they come, will you leave?" He turned slightly. "That depends." "On?" He hesitated. "On whether I've still got a reason to stay." Solari lowered her eyes. "I thought humans didn't trust aliens." "I don't trust easily," Ward said. "But trust isn't given. It's earned." She stepped closer. "And have I earned it?" Ward turned toward her fully, his face open for the first time. "You didn't just earn it. You reminded me why it was worth giving in the first place." They stood there in silence, broken only by the soft gurgle of the baby. In the distance, a sound like thunder rolled across the sky. A ship. They looked up. A dot grew on the horizon, breaking through the clouds. Sleek, durable, unmistakably Terran. The evacuation vessel. Relek and the others emerged from the shelter, their voices filled with awe and disbelief. Tears flowed. Hope returned. Ward lifted his beacon and triggered the flare. Blue fire streaked into the sky. Solari turned to him one last time. Will they accept us? Ward gave a half-smile. We don't leave people behind. Not anymore. She stepped forward and touched his hand. He didn't pull away. When the shuttle landed and its doors opened, the warmth that poured out was nothing compared to what Solari felt in her chest. She had woken on a frozen world expecting to die with her daughter. Instead, a human had shared his fire, and in doing so, sparked something that neither war nor winter could extinguish. Not pity, not duty, but something far stronger. A beginning. As the evac crew welcomed the survivors aboard and medics reached out to tend the child, Captain Ward walked last up the ramp, with Solari at his side and a baby in his arms. Behind them, the dead moon was left silent once again. But in the ship that rose from its surface, three hearts beat together. Alive and heading home.